What if a single photograph captured the last moment of an entire species? Not fossils, not ancient paintings. A real image, taken just years before the last living member vanished forever. A lone pigeon in a quiet cage, a bright orange toad by a rainforest pool, a striped predator pacing behind bars. These are the final glimpses of creatures that once ruled skies, forests, and oceans. Tonight, we reveal the last photographs of 8 extinct animals and the haunting stories they tell. Once you see them, you'll understand how fast life can disappear. 8 Caribbean monk seal. For centuries, sailors crossing the Caribbean sometimes stumbled upon a strange sight along remote, silent beaches. Dozens of massive seals stretched across the sand, barely moving, basking in the sun as ships approached almost as if they had nothing to fear. And these animals were known as Caribbean monk seals, and they once inhabited the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. Historical accounts from early explorers, including voyages during the era of Christopher Columbus, describe entire colonies covering small islands. Unlike many wild animals, these seals showed little fear of humans. Unfortunately, that trust would become their downfall. Beginning in the 1700s, hunters started killing monk seals for their blubber, which could be turned into oil used for lamps and machinery. Sailors also hunted them for fresh meat during long sea voyages. Gradually, their colonies began to shrink. By the late 1800s, the species was already on the brink of extinction. The final confirmed sighting occurred in 1952 near the remote Serenilla Bank in the Western Caribbean. A small group of seals was photographed resting along a rocky shoreline. Those images are now believed to be the last visual record of the species. In 2008, scientists officially declared the Caribbean monk seal extinct, making it the only known seal species wiped out entirely by human activity. But the next animal looked like something halfway between a horse and a zebra. 7 Quagga. Across the grasslands of South Africa once roamed an unusual animal known as the quagga. At first glance, it resembled a zebra, but only partially. The front half of its body displayed bold black stripes, while the back half faded into a solid brown color. For years, scientists debated exactly what the quagga was. Some believed it was a separate species, while others suspected it was simply a unique variation of zebra. And historical records suggest that large herds once moved across the plains of southern Africa. But when European settlers arrived, the animals were heavily hunted for both their meat and their skins. Farmers also saw them as competitors for grazing land used by cattle and sheep. By the 1870s, quaggas had disappeared from the wild. The final known individual lived in captivity at the Amsterdam Zoo. A photograph taken before its death shows the animal standing quietly behind a fence. In 1883, the last quagga died. For many years afterwards, scientists believed the species had vanished without leaving much behind. But the next animal's story may be the most haunting of all. 6 Thylacine. The thylacine, often called the Tasmanian tiger, was unlike any other predator on Earth. It resembled a wolf with dark stripes across its back, but it was actually a marsupial, raising its young inside a pouch. For thousands of years, thylacines lived across Australia and Tasmania. But when European settlers arrived in Tasmania during the 1800s, the animals were blamed for killing livestock. The government responded by offering bounties. Between 1888 and 1909, thousands of thylacines were hunted and killed. By the 1930s, the species was on the brink of extinction. The last known thylacine lived at the Hobart Zoo. A haunting photograph shows the animal pacing inside a small enclosure. On September 7, 1936, the final thylacine died after being accidentally locked outside its shelter during a cold night. Even today, occasional reports of a mysterious striped predator still emerge from the wilderness of Tasmania. But the next animal once brought bright color and loud chatter to North American forests. 5 Carolina parakeet. Imagine walking through the forests of the eastern United States and hearing the calls of parrots flying above you. Today, that idea seems impossible. Yet until the early 20th century, North America was home to its own native parrot species. The Carolina parakeet lived across forests and wetlands from Florida to the Midwest. With vivid green feathers, yellow heads, and touches of orange, they were among the most colorful birds in the region. Early naturalists described large flocks gathering near rivers and swamps, their noisy calls echoing through the trees. However, their strong social instincts made them vulnerable. When one bird was shot, the rest of the flock often circled back instead of fleeing. This behavior made them easy targets for hunters. Meanwhile, the fashion industry of the late 1800s created a high demand for colorful feathers used to decorate women's hats. The birds were hunted relentlessly. By the early 1900s, the Carolina parakeet had nearly disappeared. The last known individual, a bird named Incas, lived at the Cincinnati Zoo. A photograph taken shortly before his death in 1918 shows the beautiful bird sitting quietly on a wooden perch. With his passing, the United States lost its only native parrot species. But the next animal once ruled the mountains of North Africa: Barbary lion. For thousands of years, a powerful predator dominated the mountains of North Africa. The Barbary lion was famous for its massive dark mane that extended across its shoulders and chest. These lions once roamed the Atlas Mountains of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Historical records even describe Barbary lions being captured by the Romans and transported across the Mediterranean to fight in arena spectacles. However, during the 19th century, the widespread use of firearms placed increasing pressure on lion populations. They were hunted both for trophies and to protect livestock. By the early 1900s, only a few individuals remained in remote mountain regions. One of the final confirmed photographs was taken in 1925 in Morocco. It shows a lone male lion standing among rocky terrain. Today, the Barbary lion is considered extinct in the wild. Yet, genetic studies suggest that some captive lions may still carry traces of their ancestry. But the next animal once filled the skies in numbers so vast they could block out the sun. 3. Passenger pigeon. Just 2 centuries ago, the passenger pigeon may have been the most numerous bird species on the planet. Early explorers traveling through North America described skies filled with birds stretching as far as the eye could see. Some flocks were so large they blocked out the sun entirely. In the early 1800s, naturalist John James Audubon wrote about watching a migrating flock that passed overhead for over 3 hours, with millions of wings beating in unison like a living storm cloud. Passenger pigeons inhabited forests across eastern North America. They traveled and fed in enormous flocks, eating acorns, chestnuts, and other forest seeds. Their survival strategy relied on overwhelming numbers. Predators simply couldn't hunt enough birds to threaten the population. Humans, however, were different. By the mid-19th century, passenger pigeons had become the center of a massive commercial hunting industry. Hunters killed them by the millions, packing their bodies into barrels and shipping them to city markets. At the same time, forests across the eastern United States were rapidly being cleared for farms and settlements. Within a few short decades, something unimaginable happened. The endless flocks began to vanish. By the early 1900s, only one passenger pigeon remained alive. Her name was Martha, and she lived quietly inside the Cincinnati Zoo. One of the final photographs shows her perched alone on a branch inside a small cage. On September 1st, 1914, Martha died. With her passing, a species that once numbered in the billions disappeared forever. But the final animal on this list disappeared under circumstances that remain puzzling. A 2 Zanzibar leopard. On the island of Zanzibar, off the coast of Tanzania, once lived a distinct predator known as the Zanzibar leopard. These leopards were slightly smaller than their mainland relatives, and had unique spotted patterns suited to the island's forests. For centuries, they were the island's top predators. However, during the 20th century, local folklore began linking the animals to witchcraft and supernatural beliefs. Following the Zanzibar Revolution in 1964, organized campaigns began targeting animals believed to be associated with these traditions. Leopards were hunted intensively. Within just a few decades, their population collapsed. The last confirmed sightings occurred in the 1990s. One of the final photographs shows a leopard moving quietly through dense vegetation, a fleeting glimpse of a species on the edge of disappearance. Today, scientists believe the Zanzibar leopard is extinct, yet some locals still claim that a few may survive in the island's remote forest. But the final animal vanished in one of the most mysterious disappearances in modern science. One golden toad high in the misty cloud forests of Costa Rica once lived a tiny amphibian that seemed almost unreal. The golden toad was incredibly small, only a few centimeters long, but its bright orange skin glowed against the dark forest floor. The species was first documented in 1966 by herpetologist J. Savage in the Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve. Every year during the rainy season, hundreds of golden toads gather around shallow pools to breed. This seasonal event repeated reliably for decades. Then, almost overnight, it stopped. In 1987, scientists counted more than 1,500 golden toads during the breeding season. Only 2 years later, researchers found just a single male. To this day, scientists debate the exact cause of the collapse. Evidence suggests a deadly combination of climate change and a fungal disease known as chytridiomycosis, a pathogen that has devastated amphibian populations worldwide. Despite years of searching, no golden toads have been seen since 1989. The last photographs show a bright orange male sitting beside a small forest pool, taken only months before the species disappeared forever. Each of these photographs captures something incredibly rare: the final moments of an entire species' existence. The passenger pigeon once filled the sky with billions of birds. The golden toad glowed like a tiny flame in the rainforest. The thylacine once prowled the forests of Tasmania. Now they survive only in photographs, museum collections, and historical records. Their disappearance carries an important warning. Extinction rarely happens in a dramatic instant. More often, it occurs slowly and quietly until one day the last individual is gone, and humanity realizes too late what has been lost. The images that remain are more than historical artifacts. They are reminders of just how fragile life on this planet truly is.